So everything should be working. Let's have a look. Yes, it is working. Okay, fantastic. Right, so I'm going to make dirty blue. It's my signature mix. It is actually the only mix that I have. Oh, I'm sorry for the noise. I need to mix and make some new pigment for this. So I'm just waiting to some people join me in the live, so we can kind of talk about paint, but I'm not going to wait for too long since I need to make paint. Always be careful with these, by the way. I told it in my previous video, but these can be razor sharp. Especially this side for me, since I'm always scratching it this way. So I'm literally sharpening this razor thin edge. So let's just start with making paint. So this is my signature mix, and it is made out of ultramarine blue, as you can see there, separating from the pigment, and yellow ochre. Let's see if we can find some yellow ochre. There we are. Right, so yellow ochre, ultramarine blue, to get my dirty blue signature mix. What I wanted with this was I want to say a dirty blue, it's kind of obvious. I wanted a muted blue with a slight natural toned down green undertone, I think. So I went for a earth yellow, and I experimented with this quite a bit, the proportions. So at the very beginning, when I made this pigment, when I made this mix, I was experimenting with versions that were more blue, versions that had more ochre in it, so actually turned out more green. and I tried it with different ochres as well. Some ochres mixed as, well, almost as a real yellow. I need to look at my chart here. It's the ochre that I'm using is actually a less chromatic version of PY110. So for some of you that will be Indian yellow. It's a Indian yellow. So it's a version of Indian yellow. Some brands use PY110, so PY110 as Indian yellow, which is a beautiful color. It is the exact same hue. It has the same hue angle as this yellow ochre, the Yete Class ochre that I'm using. But this is just a less chromatic yellow. So obviously it mixes differently. It goes through the color wheel in a different way with a different curve. So it hits all different, toned down greens, almost towards the grays, towards that ultramarine blue that I mix it with. So as you can see, it's quite an easy one to, wet. If you've seen my previous videos, you know that I say like I'm wetting the pigment, so I'm mixing it with my binder, and that's not yet mulling. So this is the good old muller. It's quite an easy pigment to mill and mix. Yellow ochre, ultramarine blue, PB29. Those are really good pigments to start with if you want to make paint. As I've said in my previous video, I recently acquired 20 kilograms of yellow ochre, an old box of ultramarine blue. It's literally old. I think it's from the 50s, I think, and a barrel. It's literally a barrel full of red earth. It's a wooden barrel filled with pigment with a metal lid on it. So as you can see here, it's quite a toned down color. There's nothing like recognizably blue or like ultramarine blue or yellow in any sense of ochre in it. But hello Tracy, nice of you to join. I was just explaining about the mix, and it is a granulating paint, but it's also a separating paint, and those are two different things. And I kind of want to get that straight. Separating pigments are, how can I explain this? I might just add a drop of water later. Separating paints are where the two pigments kind of literally separate from each other. So the blue sinks in quicker, the yellow kind of moves around on the paper still a bit. So the ultramarine blue is more granulating than this ochre. So there is granulation happening, but there's also separation happening. There are some mixes that just separate in paint brands, and there used to be a granulating set from a brand that was just actually all different pigments that they used to have in their regular line of paint, with PBK 11. So iron oxide, a black iron oxide, added to it, and that wasn't granulating at all. It was just a very shaded version of every color, which just separated into the color mixed with the black pigment. It was a shame that they called that granulating. I think a lot of makers and maybe still, you know, painters kind of don't know the difference between granulation, separation, and fluctuation. Well, or they tend to use that like interchangeably. But it's all different, and it's interesting, since that's what makes pigments like have their own properties, personalities, things that we can use as artists and as paint makers. So I'm making dirty blue, like as my title says on YouTube, my signature color, and you can actually see the yellow ochre here already separating on my palette knife. Right, it's floating on the top. So dirty blue asks for loads of layers, not because, you know, otherwise it would dry horribly in the pan, but it would just separate. So we get tiny layers of ochre and tiny layers of ochre mixed with ultramarine. Hi, Janina, I think. That's how you pronounce it, looking at your last name. Let me just quickly look for a hello from your neighbor country, the Netherlands. Let me have a look if I can, after I've done this. I still need some mulling, by the way. But I want to show you if I can quickly find a piece of paper suited for this, so I can show you the separation, maybe the granulation as well. So one moment, please. While I'm looking at the other side of my studio for paper. I found some paper, which is actually way too nice for this, I think. I enjoy swatching dirty blue, so I don't mind doing this at all. Ooh, it's better than schminke. I like that. Sorry. I know. Yes, I talked about it in a Discord group. Actually, I just announced it, that I felt a lot of pressure from, you know, other makers, but also like big brands. Everyone's working with granulating paints, and everyone's like hopping on that granulating train, and I like it. I like granulating mixes a lot, actually, but I do have one problem with it, and that's I like single pigments, like the properties that a single pigment has. I like it better, and I like being able to appreciate just wetting the paper first, so you can see it separating as soon as I put a, let's just do this in a proper way, right? So right now it's still like, it's a denim-like grey, and this is the color that I was going for. I'll just let it dry on the side. You can already kind of see, I don't know if it's visible on the camera, you can already kind of see the lighter yellowish like spots there. It's becoming a warmer white. Just let it put it like that. We're going to put this to the side to let it dry, and we come back to that later. Let's have a look and swipe this on the plate again. But you know, there's loads of brands that do the granulating mixes, and I really like it, and I really have some ideas and mixes in mind that fit my brand, because I think that's important as well, because I want to kind of pay my respects, make homages to single pigments that granulate beautifully and mix together well, so they both get their the attention that they deserve. I'm talking about pigments as if they were human beings. It's only to you. I'm not talking to my pigments at all. Like I'm not that lonely when I'm making paint, but I do enjoy talking about it. But I don't talk to my pigments. Just for the record, I'm not naming them. Not all of them, by the way. Maybe some of them. I have a special connection to some of the pigments, because I have like real Indian yellow, for instance, Paris green. Those things are just history in a jar, and you know, being able, mummy brown, by the way, as well. Not sure if it's real, but it's old. It's really hard to figure out if it's real, since it's a load of bitumen that's in the mummy. It's a load of it's from the 1800s, 1850 something, I think it's on the jar. There's, sorry Tracy, just seeing it now. View is blurry. Let's have a look if I can change that. It should be in its best resolution from my end. I'm not sure if I can change anything about that. I think we do have a connection to colors, but yeah, I say that, although I know there's a difference from when I started working with paint, when I was on the Arts Academy, and now, since it's you know, I really appreciate the pigments on their own. It's not like some artists still, or some artists do, loads of artists do it. They just look at the tube and look which color they need, straight out of the tube, and that's fine. You know, amazing work is made with people who just work straight out of the tube, since there's so many pigments to choose from, so many colors and hues and different, you know, transparencies and things like that. No matter if we talk about watercolors or oils or acrylics. But understanding the numbers, the pigment numbers, and what they mean for, you know, what they could mean for your work, for me that has become really important. Let's have a look, Janina. I'm sorry. We'll have to buy it because I can't reproduce it by mixing it from the tube. You mean like dirty blue? Well, that would be an honor, but I do have to. I would suggest wait with it. It's just a friendly suggestion, since I'm going to do a giveaway, and it will be the most fantastic giveaway that I've ever done. Well, there's only two of you. I can kind of share what I'm planning to do. I'm not going to share what my prize will be, but I don't know if you follow me on Instagram. If you don't follow me on Instagram, I will share the video on YouTube as well. Let's see if it's, yeah, that's proper sticky. I don't know how long you've been following me on Instagram, but I don't know if you can remember the golden ticket that I've done quite a while back. I recognize that, yeah. There was a Christmas giveaway, yes. Was both here and on YouTube. Instagram and YouTube. But a while back I shared a video with it was a golden ticket that I hid in my paint, literally in my paint, like Willy Wonka. And someone who bought it from my shop and found the golden ticket won the prize, unknown until, you know, someone actually came to me and showed me the golden ticket. So that person won like a nice set of paints. This will be way better than that. So this I think we are there. This is gorgeous. Well, you can, this is still drying, but you can see like the, oh come on, focus on it. You can see the blue settling down and the yellow kind of floating on top still. It's still wet, still damp. You can do it way more extreme. You can show it on a different piece of paper. So let's kind of move the camera like that a bit. Do I have water? Yes, I have water there. We can kind of have a look. So this is quite a dark swatch that I'm making. I'm kind of spreading it out a bit since I don't want it to be focused too much in the middle. But as I kind of, I will just first scrape my plate by the way. But I will put it back on camera. No, it's not even a hint for what I'm planning. But I'm working it on my grand like prize that you can win. I've been working on that for months, literally. And it is something that I can, with a lot of certainty, can say that no one has done before, which is always kind of a thing for me. I want to stay like creative. I want to stay original, so I don't just want to copy what other people do. That's why I'm kind of hesitant about, you know, the granulating thing. I think it's too many people doing it. Okay, so this is going to be off camera since it's part of the prize, which will include something that has to do with dirty blue. And I think I need to refill some dot pens as well. So let's do that now. I had a question, by the way, from my last live. How do you know when paint is done? When do you know it's finished? And it's actually quite an interesting question, since, you know, for this one it's quite easy. You can literally feel it. You can see it if it like swipes down without seeing any pigment like lumps. This one is just ready. It's smooth. You can see, you can beautifully see while I'm just chatting away how this separates and granulates and, you know, does it thing. This is dirty blue at its best, I think. You can see the green, what I was talking about. You can see the blue shining through. You can see the yellow as a kind of a mist over it. Thanks, Tracy. I think it really is. I think it really is. I've tried to be original with most of my giveaways. Not just giving away paint, but also giving away pigments for paint makers, giving away my pans for paint makers, giving away a set to make your own paint. So, you know, kind of, you know, I have people reacting on that. So why would you do that? You're a paint maker, so why would you give people stuff so that they can make their own paint? Well, because I want to share what I'm doing. And that's why I make these videos and my tutorials. I just want to share my passion. Yeah, Tracy, that's a that's kind of a common thing when you, at least when I start to work with a pigment for the very first time. It's a recipe. It's just, you know, which pigment needs how much binder, and that really doesn't have to do anything with mulling, I think. Obviously, if it's smooth while you're mulling, let's just be honest. If it's like, if it's this smooth and it flows like this, and it's beautiful, creamy substancy. Or substance, I think, and if it still kind of rubs off the paper when it dries, it's a need for more binder, I think. I'm sorry, trying to be kind of focus here and talking, which is a bad combination sometimes. Let's fill some new pans. So these are my pens that say mix. So let me just put it on the. It says mix on the side, since this is a mix, and obviously ultramarine blue, yellow ochre. I'm not mysterious what's in my paint. Some people are. Some people don't want to share what's like which pigments are in their mixes because they think people are going to steal it. They're going to do it anyway. If you make a nice mix, they're going to reproduce it anyway. At least, you know, people who are like that. Let me just put it like that. Well, that's good to hear. If they're like, if they're good enough for you, why wouldn't they be good enough for others? Or is not what you meant to say with it? Making loads of scraping noises right now off camera. Kind of seeing where I can add the little extras. So this, I'm so used to this paint. I didn't use my Handmade gauge, so like this one, which I used in my previous live. I'm so used to this paint. I know what it feels like, what it needs to feel like, what it needs to look like. Like this is the wash, dry enough. It's cochineal month. Is that how you pronounce it in English? It is, yeah. I saw it, and I'm kind of looking which version of that pigment I'm going to use for making a video about that, since Pigments Revealed International on Instagram does their pigment of the month thing, and I'm trying to join like each month with a proper video showing the process of making paint with that pigment. But I'm still kind of figuring out which version I should use. I have, okay, I think 4 or 5 of them, really pure versions, and I have. I'm sorry that I kind of react while I'm in a sentence, but I have never made a lake pigment. I have made paint with lake pigments, yes. I was actually kind of, figuring out if some of the pigments that I have are lakes or just ground up materials. I saw that, I have dragon's blood as pigment, and it's really nice. I have it like, this is kind of a sloppy pan, since that had an air bubble on it. NR31, natural red 31, so that's the pigment number. This is a smelly pigment. Really, it smells. It's weird, chemically. I don't know. This is the pigment. So this is dragon's blood, and I've seen people made lakes out of dragon's blood, and I found that so fascinating, since it's a resin. I understand why people made a lake out of it, since it doesn't want to mix with water. But you can mull it, all right. I have, for instance, lapis lazuli or malachite or vivianite. They're not mixing with water. You grind them. You make a dispersion into your binder, and I treated dragon's blood the same way, and it made a gorgeous granulating, soft, transparent, like textured red. I'm just looking through my swatches here if I can find that. Manganese blue, absolutely gorgeous. One of my favorite pigments here, green gold. I like the versatility of that one. Let me just put the camera up like that way. Potters pink, these are all still empty. Quinacridone, gold, dirty blue, this is ultramarine spinel black, Prussian blue, malachite, azurite, dirty blue exclusive, which is like nice to compare with this one. This was lapis lazuli with laminite, so this is a more textured, more expensive version of my regular dirty blue, which also had more separation going on, which I really like. Thinking about bringing that back, I'm not sure about it. As a russet, frangelico. This is my own homemade lapis lazuli pigment, which you can look up. There it is. On my YouTube, I have a video about making the lapis lazuli pigment. This is dragon's blood, so it's a really, really textured red watercolor, but it's beautiful as a watercolor. You see the mass down here is quite deep red. It has a lovely transparency to it. The texture is really showing. It's textured. It's not granulating. It's textured. But it's just lovely. And don't wash your brushes with alcohol if you used dragon's blood, since the resin will dissolve and will destroy your brushes. So I'm speaking out of experience there. Looking if I can see any more interesting pigments that I don't have in my shop, but I did swatch. No, not really. I have this ultramarine violet, by the way, and on camera it looks blue. In real life it looks blue as well. Like this ultramarine blue, you can see the difference. In my Instagram stories, it's Pigment Fact Fridays, one of the PFFs, what's PFF 1, 2 or 3, I don't know. Story highlights I have over there has dragon's blood in it, and I'm actually setting it on fire in that video after I put alcohol in it, and it's a deep red ink which you get when you add alcohol, but it's a resin that dissolves in the ink, and it dries as a resin as well, so you can only dissolve it again with alcohol. But really, just don't do it. Let's have a look. So you can see wash, and it's still drying here. It is beautiful. There are not many granulating reds, but I bet since you follow me on Instagram, and thank you very much, Janina. You know what I'm talking about. If you follow me on Instagram and YouTube, you know that I made Yintico. Right, so since we're live, I'm just going to talk about this, kind of promoting myself here, since I'm the only one who will have Yintico in its shop, except for Schminke. So my video was also called like the first handmade watercolor with Yintico. So this pigment was made for me by the official manufacturer of Yintico, which has the permit for it. It's a pigment with a copyright, so they are licensed to make Yintico and Yinmin as well. And I was talking with Jane Blundell. Actually, I reacted on something about Yinmin, which I do have as a swatch here as well. Yinmin is, it all comes from the same manufacturer. There's like one guy on Etsy, I think, who makes his own Yinmin pigment. But you know, if you want to have the real stuff, Crema, Tokyo Pigment, whoever sells Yinmin, whoever sells Yinmin as paint, they all come from the same factory. It's quite a new pigment, as is Yintico. You were underwhelmed by Schminke's Yintico. I don't know if you've seen my video, me making Yintico. Mine is a little bit more intense. It also acts differently, so I don't know if that's a binder thing. I think it is. I am not sure what it otherwise could be. Since, you know, it is a granulating red, right? It's a lovely red. It reminds me of ultramarine pink. Obviously, that's more violet. It reminds me of, and that's just, you know, when I'm working with it, it reminds me of Potter's Pink. I'm looking for a swatch of that quickly. Let's just put Dragon's Blood next to it, just because we can. Where is Potter's Pink? I just saw Potter's Pink. Is that the same thing? That's a different version of it. Oh, that's Ultramarine Rose and Ultramarine Pink. dragon's blood. No, it's Yintico is not ready yet. So it's kind of, I have a batch of manganese blue, quinacridone gold, Vivianite blue, which I made a video about on my Instagram and YouTube. Yintico will be in my next shop updates, and there's some others I'm working on. So no, it's not in my shop yet. It will be added, but I'm also thinking about changing the format of my of the pictures on my Etsy. So I'm kind of doing a lot of things at once. This reminded me a lot like of each other. This is the purest ultramarine blue I have, the Fra Angelico. This is Yin Min blue. Obviously, this is like warmer, I think, but it has the same intensity. Which this is a natural mineral, and this is a very new chemically made pigment. So it's, I don't know. I thought it was interesting when I saw them next to each other. But the granulating reds, these are interesting paints, I think. Yeah. There's versions of like ultramarine rose or pink that are even more violet, and most of the times those are PV15s. The PV15 that I just showed was a very blue one. This one, this is the PV15 that's in my shop, so that's a more violet one, which also looks a lot like, or a lot like, it's the same, it has the same hue angle as, almost the same hue angle as dioxazine violet. We're looking for that as I am kind of chatting away. I need to reorganize my swatches. I have a swatch about that. I absolutely do, since it's, there's a picture of it on my shop. But where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Oh, this is interesting. Sorry for this, by the way, guys. There is dioxazine violet. So, yeah, I do have a. I know what a Rolodex is. In my part of the world, it sounds like we have the same things, I think, right? Yeah, I do. That would be better, I think. But those are the little things that I kind of. This is like organization has always been a thing for me. These violets are very much alike. This can be granulating. This is not a very granulating swatch, by the way. But this has a large drying shift. In my last video I explained what that is. This one is way more staining as well, as you can see. But I have like I like having both of them as an option. So the granulating reds. Obviously, there's cadmium red, which has a slight granulation in it, and I might, add that to my shop one day. But I'm not really sure about the cadmiums. I don't like working with them a lot. They're nice to make, but since their slight toxicity, it's something I like to avoid. If possible. So I'll just put these down. This is the yellow ochre and the ultramarine blue that I used for mixing dirty blue. For those of you who have just joined, I just made dirty blue, as you can see, like on my plate. Now the blue PV15 has not been added to my shop. I know, since I wasn't sure if I was going to add that one. Ideally, I have, I think, a collection of 700 pigments, different pigments. Ideally, I would like to add them all in my shop, but that would be just too much work for me. So I need to kind of have a look what to add, what not to add, in which or on kind of which updates have include different pigments or different versions of the same pigment. I'm still kind of finding my way into that, and like I said before as well, making more mixes or just focusing more on the single pigments with their own properties. I don't know what I like more. It's kind of I'm focused on educating, I think, sharing my passion, working with and selling single pigments, and that's it for now, right? And you know, thinking of creative ways to say thank you for like the giveaways. I do have one thing, and I'm thinking about, you know, like showing you or not. I'm really afraid that's a thing with, you know, this small watercolor, handmade watercolor world. If you're sharing things too soon, people will copy you, and I know what my working hours are. Like, I can work from 9 to 2, and then I need to pick up my kids. So there's people who can work for way more. Maybe you can hear my kids in the background. There are people who have way more working hours than I can actually have. So if I share something, they might like copy it and bring it out before I can. So it looks like I'm copying them. I've been held back a couple of times, you know, with releasing things that I wanted to, which I announced, but people beat me to it, and you know, that's it's not a nice feeling. Nah, I'm not sharing it. I'm going to make a triad. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to make a triad of 3 paints, which will, I think, you know, will be a nice addition to my shop. So, yellow ochre, ultramarine blue, dirty blue. So the way I'm cleaning, I have a dirty muller, and I have a dirty palette knife, and I have just some, you know, in a spray bottle. I'm spraying it. I'm making sure all the sides of my muller are wet. Thank you very much, Stacey. It really means a lot to me, since you know, having your own kind of starting your own business. I quit my job as a teacher, and starting your own business is kind of figuring out, you know, where do you want to go with your brand? Where do you want to go with what you're doing? Is it going to make enough money? You know, is it going to make you a living? I have a family, so you know, that's not unimportant. And I'm just doing this on camera so you can see what I mean with separating my pigments. And I got a lot of appreciation last year for the things I did on Instagram especially, but I wanted to, you know, share more and make things, like I said in one of my videos, I wanted to make it Googleable. I wanted people to find it when they were looking for handmade watercolors, how to make handmade watercolors. So that's why I'm on YouTube. So a while back I actually installed a special filter for a washing machine, so I can throw like these towels in the washing machine with paint, and it collects and filters the water before it goes to the sewer, and that filter needs to be cleaned once in a while. It's like an industrial thing you can just put between like the sewer pipes and your washing machine. And actually learned about that from the school I worked on. They had them, and they used it for all the things in the arts and crafts classes. And I like the idea about it, you know. There's loads of schools that just throw it in the sewer as well, which is really bad for the environment. As I'm talking, you can see the separating pigments here. There's loads of water, so the pigments are acting as they do naturally when they are set free in the water. It's almost romantic. No, it's really something. It's really beautiful to look at. I don't know if you can kind of experience the same thing. I can make random gray. Yeah, speaking of schminke, I have been thinking about it to make like a throwaway gray or something like that. Oh, I'm going to patent that name. Or do they call it throwaway gray? No, right? Okay, so you are my what do you call it? I completely lost the word. Well, you were here while I said it. If Schminke doesn't use it yet, I'm claiming throwaway grey. When I started making paint, I actually made a jar for all the paint chips that, you know, I took from my pans while cleaning it and things like that. But thinking about those little things, while actually, you know, you need to produce paint. It's a pain in the butt. I always forgot about it. Yeah, throwaway grey is claimed. You just witnessed it. Yeah, oh, absolutely. The three roll thing, the three roll mills that they have, the way they clean it, they just have buckets of paint like coming from the screen. No, not buckets, maybe. Oh, maybe they do actually for per day have buckets of paint coming from that. Just looking at the amount of paint they make. So while I'm cleaning, like I'm still, let's use this and see. Let's have a look. This is kind of clean still. See how much still comes off the plate. All right. So I'm doing this before I start making paint as well, but I let it dry. So this is still coming off the plate while it looks clean. Okay, I think I'm finished. Idea for a giveaway? Yes, I think it's a good idea in general, by the way. Just throw away grey. Made from scraps of dirty blue. Well, it's not made from scraps of just scraps of everything. I'm going to think about this. Thanks for that. I kind of tossed the idea of having. Let's see if I can look. If I can find that jar of like paint chips that I had. I think it's in one of the cupboards actually. No, the official idea for the giveaway, which will follow very soon, it will be awesome. Trust me, it's going to be something I've never done before. I think no one has done before. Thank you, Tracy, for joining me again with the live. I actually enjoy this. It takes a bit of my time, but you know, I think it adds value as well. So building up a little community. While making paint and chatting about pigments and paints and colors and things like that. And thank you for the compliment. It really means a lot to me. I might be back again tonight. I'll announce it on my YouTube or my Instagram. On I think YouTube kind of sends a email when I go live. I'm not sure about that. So I kind of need to look at what I'm going to do, since I need a lot of cleanup as well here I'm working on my microscope and kind of tinkering with it to make it to use it for different stuff as well. Oh, and there's one series I can tell you about it. I can tell you about that, and it has to do with this. Just a quick this Fra Angelico blue. This is my ultramarine. This is my lapis lazuli. And I think I found out that someone is selling fake lapis lazuli pigment. So I'm going to make a series of videos about that as well, I think. But it kind of feels naughty to do so. It kind of feels like I'm doing a bad thing, while I actually think I'm doing everyone a favor by like uncovering this. But yeah, it's the reason I bought a microscope. So if you haven't seen like what I'm doing with that, check my Instagram. The reason I bought a microscope because I want to see things up close and put it under a filter, so I could find out if it's actual mineral pigment or just regular old PB29 synthetic ultramarine. And the things I found out till now, together with a very big pigment manufacturer, which I have, I have quite good contact with them. They confirmed what I found out, and it's really fun. But anyway, see you next time, guys. Kind of wandering off here. No, there's no way to it's not true, by the way. Thanks for still being here. I'm kind of wandering off. I opened the jar of pigment. I'm not going to tell whose pigment it is, or I'm not yet going to tell whose pigment it is. I'm not sure if I'm going to at all. But I felt it, like literally I had the pigment between my fingers and I felt the pigment, and there was nothing. I made this, you probably have seen my video, or if not, watch it here on YouTube, good for the views. But I felt it between my fingers and it felt nothing like the purest version, the most purified version of lapis lazuli that I could make. It felt like synthetic ultramarine, and it was a shock. And I bought Fra Angelico or purest versions of lapis lazuli from all the big pigment manufacturers that I can think of, to compare it, and that one just stood out so much. And it felt nothing like the others. It looked nothing like the others, and I compared it to my version on the microscope with all the others on the microscope, and that particular one on the microscope, and it looked nothing like the others as well. I'm going to make, I think I'm going to make a life about it. But I'm in need for a bigger audience for that kind of way. So we need to gather people around who want to know more about this, so we can have a kind of a I'm going to blow your mind moment together. Well, no, that's absolutely it. No one likes to be duped, and I'm pretty sure that's what's happening. And like I said, it's confirmed by others as well. Okay, I'm going to think about that. Have a great night or great day, depending on the time zone you're living, and see you next time, guys. By the way, I'll announce it on my Instagram, and keep an eye on your email, or turn on notifications on YouTube to be the first one to join my next live, which could be tonight. Not sure yet, so keep an eye on it. Thanks for joining, Janina, Tracy, and others. And Janina, thanks again for visiting my shop.